Texas is the fastest growing state in the country, receiving bucket loads of people every single year. And today we're gonna break down the reasons why you should not move here, just in case you're on the fence. We're gonna get you off of it. So let's do this. So let's start with number one. Texas is a political battleground state. We have been Republican for the past 20, 25 years, majority leaning Republican, but we saw in 2020 that power was kind of shifting. When Biden was elected and Trump lost, Texas still voted Republican. We definitely saw the Democrats take quite a bit of ground in the election. And the interesting thing about Texas is in the major metropolitan cities, the Austin, San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, those places are all very liberal. However, Texas is so big, outside of the cities, it's rural and most people are conservative. It's almost like a battle that we have between those people and the city folk that just clash so much over issues, the hot button issues like abortion, socialism issues, things that are taught in schools, gun rights, the illegal immigration that comes from Mexico. I personally get a lot of calls from people who want to move here from all over the country, and the one major thing most people do want to talk about is politics. Most people that I speak to are conservative and they're fleeing a state like California that's incredibly liberal, or New York, and they want to get to a conservative state. But that's the back and forth that I have with people. It's they want to escape their liberal state and come to Texas, which is supposed to be a conservative refuge. Okay, numero dos. Texas has insane weather swings. Like, we're talking the swingiest of all swings. In 1 week in December, it could go from being legit 30 degrees, which is pretty cold for Texas. A couple days later, it might be in the 80s, and I'm not exaggerating whatsoever. From the months of October to like February, it's hit or miss. You don't know what you're getting. It could be 30 degrees, it could be 80. You just don't know. And some weeks, it changes by the day. Most people know that it's hot here, but a lot of people don't know how much the weather actually swings the pendulum back and forth, and it gets rough. It all really depends on the part of the state that you go to as well. Southern part of the state, a lot more humid, a lot more rainy. It's more tropical climate, so it's gonna be hotter most of the time. The winters are not cold at all. The northern part of the state does get a bit cooler. That's something to consider as well. Number three, the population growth. This might deter some people who are wanting to move to a more reclusive state. Texas is not that. It's not becoming that. In fact, we have added 4 million people, ranking number one in numeric growth among all states in the freaking country. So we're one of the fastest growing, not every year, but the last decade we have been the fastest growing state in the nation. Now, what does that mean? Really in the metropolitan cities, it's gotten bad, but really in rural areas, it's not that bad. You can't really tell that much. And there's so much freaking land in Texas. It's like legitimately buy land 25 miles away from anyone and never see anybody if you wanted to. So if you're more of a hermit or someone who doesn't want to live around people, which I totally get, maybe consider not moving here, or at least call me and we can figure out a good place for you to live. If you end up with a bad realtor, it could cost you buckets of money. Literally, you want to be with someone who knows exactly what they're doing when you're moving here, especially if you're thinking about moving from one state to another. So give me a ring-a-ding-ding if you have any questions about Texas whatsoever. We can talk about on the phone, we can Zoom, we can FaceTime, whatever tickles your fancy, we can do on the phone as long as it's appropriate. It doesn't matter where in the state you want to move to. I have a network of agents I work with across the state, and we can get you guys here safe and sound. So give me a ring. My number's below. Okay, so number four, Texas is a sports state, and I'm not just talking professional. I'm talking about college and high school. We really do love high school sports, and that might be something to consider if you have kiddos, whatever sports you want to get them into, maybe get them into a sport like golf or a solo sport. On the flip side of that token though, because high school sports are so big, we also have some of the most reputable like marching bands in the state and theater departments. Always something for your kids to get involved in, whether they're sporty or not. College scene is also really cool. We have so many good colleges here, which is a reason that high school sports is so crazy. Our sports system just breeds people for professional sports. And that's a huge part of it too. Not only can you be a fan of a professional sport team here like the Cowboys or the Texans or something like that, you can be a fan of the schools here. And we've got a lot of people that bandwagon on all these schools. So that's definitely something to consider as well. Texas is big on sports, huge on it. Moving on to number five, we've got a very hot button issue. It is guns. People in Texas have so many freaking guns. Texas was an independent state at one point. Remember the Alamo, never forget it. We are huge on individual rights. Gun ownership is definitely an indicative part of that. It's also estimated that almost 37% of Texans own a weapon. It's almost a guarantee you'd run into someone with a gun, at least on them. You might not see it, and I hope not, but they have them. everywhere. It is astronomical how many people own guns in Texas. One humongous problem we have in Texas is wild hogs. You can kill those things with anything just because they are such a rampant problem here. So people use AR-15s, all sorts of rifles. The guns that we have actually provide a lot of utility in that regard. If you are not a gun person, if you don't think guns are cool, I would encourage you not to move here because you would probably hate it. If you don't want to carry a gun in Texas, you can legally open carry a sword as well. So you like katanas or whatever, if that floats your boat, you can carry swords around legally. Okay, so now let's break down number 6. We are looking at the size of Texas. This is the second biggest state behind Alaska, which I don't know if Alaska should really count because they were part of Russia at one point, and you can't even go anywhere in the middle of the state. They say everything's bigger in Texas, and boy, that's the dang truth. It can take up to 13 hours to get from one part of the state to the next. Getting from point A to point B at times can be so daunting. If you are traveling anywhere outside the state, you really need to plan around it. This place is huge. It's humongous. The biggest ranch in Texas, which is King Ranch, is 825,000 acres. And that probably just takes up a little smidge of the map when you're looking at it. That's how big our freaking state is. So number 7, just like all my ex-girlfriends, I wouldn't say they're the prettiest, but I also wouldn't say they're the ugliest. And I think that's where Texas ranks up in the beauty match of states. If you are an outdoorsy person like hiking, there's definitely things for you to do here. Big Bend National Park is a huge thing. It takes up kind of the southwest part of the state. It's a huge kind of mountainous, canyony, plateau, deserty kind of thing. There's really pretty foresty areas, but we're not a Colorado or a Montana. We don't have really beautiful mountains. We are not the most aesthetically pleasing state, especially in certain parts. One thing that we definitely don't have, beaches. Our beaches are not great. I've been to most of them on the Gulf. Unless you go to very specific spots, it's not a pleasant experience. There are obviously a number of things that we could get into about Texas and why you should or shouldn't move here. If you're interested in moving here, just give me a call. My number's right down below. Thanks so much for watching this video, and we will see you guys in the next one. Toodaloos.